What does home mean to you and where is it?
Oh. Home means to me where my heart is, and it is both here and New Zealand.
Home, I think, home is very, that has two aspects, you know, the physical aspect of it, and then the emotional and mental aspect of it. So you can have more than one home, really, both physically and emotionally. So physically is when you, the unit I live in now is my home. But for me also thinking my home was in Amman in Jordan, moved from Palestine. The home I visited, as I told you, 3 years ago in Nablus. So that's the physical home. But emotionally, really, the definition of home is where the people care about you.
Home is like strictly the place where the roof is on top of my head, in the center of Bankstown, where the heart is, and like I would never like want to leave this home. It's very good.
Home is where the heart is. So home isn't a physical place. It's not a landmark. I believe home is when you feel comfortable and secure. They say home is where you can lay your hat, and I rarely take my hat off. So if I take it off, it's definitely home. You know. So being somebody who's traveled a lot, I've had to make home in places, and it was one of the hardest things I ever did, becoming comfortable in new environments.
Home is where the heart is. Home is a place where you reside and live and come home and do what you feel like doing in your own property, where nobody can be a judge or judge you for what you do. And home is where you got solace and you got a roof over your head, you do what you like and enjoy your time with your family, friends, relatives. Yeah.
Until recently, I really never felt home here in Australia, and now I feel maybe I was delusional the way I felt, because when we came to Australia, I felt disconnected from my family. I had 7 brothers and sisters and my parents, that I always was with them until we came here, and it's the loneliness that made me feel I needed to be with my family. But now home is here, really.
I don't really feel that any place is fixed as home, and I think that's probably partly because I'm the daughter of migrants, so home is split, the heart is split. And that really came to me, a realization that came to me when I was at university, and I was longing to go and see where my parents had come from. And so I went and met my grandmother in Egypt and spent 2 weeks there in my mother's home. And I fell in love with Egypt and wanted to remain there and study there. I just felt that such a strong connection, seeing where my mother had come from. And then I went to Jordan at the same time in that holiday and spent time with my father's family, Palestinians who had this incredible home in the West Bank but were unable to go there, were not allowed, and were in a pretty awful suburb in Jordan, pretty much stateless. And for me, connecting with them was incredible. It even made me stronger and as an advocate of Palestine. And I felt that my heart was in the Middle East as well, as much as it was here. So for me, home is something that is very much part of my sort of the diaspora experience. And I don't think that it's something that I need to feel is fixed in one place at any particular point in time.
بيتي بالنسبة لي كل شيء، ولادي، ذكرياتي، جيراني.
A lot home and families. That's the more important thing in my life. No life without my family.
What does family mean to you?
Oh, family is everything, all from the start to finish. You do for your family, you plan for your family, you provide for them. At the end, you enjoy your family, grandchildren, most of all, after the children.
I'm coming here to Iraq when I'm 18 years old. I'm married, have 2 children, son and daughter, and later on I have 4 grandchildren, 3 nice, gorgeous girls, and handsome grandson.
Family is chaotic and noisy and about food, and I've got 4 children, and on my husband's side there are 19 grandchildren, and on my side there are 10, so very much it's about this noise being amplified at any given point in time, and it's about you know, being a mediator between kids arguing, and it's about talking about politics and the big issues in life and the small issues, and it's about being there for each other. It's about supporting each other's ambitions and goals, and that's something that's been very important in my life, and that I owe so much to my family, because I have had really big ambitions and have tried to juggle a lot in my life, and they've always been there to support me. They've never said, no, you can't do it. You've got to just focus on being a mum, or you've just got to focus on your career. They've always, every time an opportunity has come along, my family have said, take it and we will deal with it. We will help you through it. So for me, family is about sticking together and being there for each other.
Family is someone who makes you happy, and family is where you can come and talk to each other and tell each other your stories or tell each other your problems.
It is the care you give people. People, you know, tend to be like one family, they call it, you know, is when you are in danger, when you are in crisis, you see. So I don't really, family doesn't, I was asked this question when I was on the border in Israel, you know, from Jordan to Palestine. And the Israeli asked me, he said, what is your clan? I said, what do you mean by clan? We don't have clans, you know. We don't have mafia, you know. What do you mean? So, okay, family. I said, family is, thanks to you, scattered everywhere in the world. Okay, I have family in United Arab Emirates, I have family in USA, I have family in Australia, I have family. So which family are you talking about, okay?
Well, family is a very big thing to me. Strictly because, like, same bloodline, same DNA. It's all because of that.
This thing that you just can't describe, that person's part of your tribe.
Family means a lot to me. I don't think I can live without my family, my children and my grandchildren. They're the reason I'm living. They bring me happiness.
I'm happy with my life, I'm happy with my family. It's very nice family. My family means a lot to me.
Family are the people who, even when they don't want to, they're there for you. You know, that they care enough. It's an unconditional thing where you might not necessarily get along with them all the time, but you are so embedded in loving them and in wanting best for them that you'll do anything for them.
Describe the place where you spent your childhood.
Melbourne, I remember it being very cold and very gloomy weather, which meant that we really had to make fun for ourselves indoors, and it was very much a childhood where I was surrounded by books and make-believe and you know, putting on plays and performances and writing plays and performances with my sister and our family friends. So yeah, I have very fond and romanticised memories of my childhood there.
I was born at home, not in a hospital. And 3 years ago, after 50 years of not being in my birthplace, I went there. Talking about it now, I feel bloody emotional, to be honest with you. It's very, very hard. To see the room where you were born, you see the house where you were born, and you see the city where you were born. Not many people have this privilege, you know, or the experience to be away under the difficult circumstances, and after 50 years you go there and see your birthplace.
So in Burqa, nothing apart from school, home, playing. In my case, I used to make my own toys. Ended up as an engineer. Always like to do things by myself, and not much else. Nothing apart from playing with kids, my neighbors, in the street, going back, sleep early, wake up early. Not much.
بتذكر كنت ألعب أنا ورفقاتي أنا وأخواتي
I left of my parents' house where I'm 7 years old and live in Athens with my auntie.
A small country town where people lived off the land. Everybody had a piece of land and some animals. And my childhood was continuously running in the fields and climbing trees and picking fruit. Nice childhood.
Nablus, I'll be honest with you, if I close my eyes and think about the place, because I was born 1944 and 1948, everything happened, And I remember in the old houses, in that time, people used beds, but also used mattresses a lot. And they used to put the mattress during the day against the wall, okay? And I remember the aeroplanes, British and also the Israelis, bombing, Nablus. And I remember I was 3.5 or 4 years old, standing against the wall. And I saw that wall when I went there 3 years ago. It was really mixed of, because during the war it was not really pleasant time. Even a lot of people, were not healthy because it was difficult to get food, difficult to feed people, bombing everywhere, and everybody, uncertainty everywhere. But again, when you live with your family and your people, there's a lot of sweet and beautiful things to remember.
Well, the place where I spent my childhood was it had a good environment, and it was mainly me, my sister, and my brother Abdullah.
Full of fun, boring, at the same token, very small city, but good.
Green.
Yeah, great, green, fresh, but yeah, very good.
بيروت سن الفيل مكان جميل فيه الأشجار والحرش ونلعب ونستمتع بال.
Nablus was a lovely city between two mountains, and it is very have alleys and old stone, and when you go there you can be really lost in the old city. You can walk from house to house, just going from roof to roof, like this kind of thing. It was interesting, and the people there, it was the second large city in Palestine, and famous for the olive oil and good food.
What is the most difficult thing that you've had to overcome? So if you struggled, how did you post-operasis?
Very hard years, very hard sickness, pressures, so many years. And I'm alone, no family, no relatives, nobody, just me and my husband. And then the kids coming.
4 times, you see, close people to your heart. My mother died, my father died when I was in London, My mother died when I was in Kuwait. My brother died when I was in Qatar. My sister died last month. I was in Sydney. So, and death is very hard. People not like you live in your own home with all your own family. You see them, you have enough pleasure to communicate with them and know them very well. Suddenly, distance takes you apart, death comes, and it's very, very difficult.
مشكلة عيوني كانت مرحلة صعبة كتير، والحمد لله هلا رجعت قنعت بأمر ربي والحمد لله.
My broke life.
Being a mum is the most difficult thing I've had to overcome. Nothing like I thought it would be. But yeah, I would say being a mum, raising a child on my own.
The price was being away and being lonely. It was really hard. It was very hard. Always I was thinking of is home. I mean, home over my family. Loneliness is hard. And I think, like from a place where the doors are open, where we came from, everybody comes in and goes all day long. We never have any privacy. And you come here, and no, you get out on the street, no one says hello to anyone. I just could remember the afternoons in where I came from, all the men will come from work, or the woman if they're working, and we'll get in the courtyard of somebody, the whole neighborhood will come and have coffee together. And I used, at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I used to just stand there and long for that. And I could see no one on the street. I could see no one on the streets. No one says hello.
When I think about this in the context of my sort of identity as the daughter of a Palestinian who is not allowed to return to his homeland as a Palestinian, who has to return only with his Australian passport, and always with the risk and the doubt of whether an Israeli soldier will allow him to enter. When I think about that, one of the things that has had the most profound impact on me is knowing that my grandmother died in Jordan, my uncle died in Jordan, and they were so close to home, and yet, you know, their home in the West Bank might as well have been in Europe. You know, it was just totally disconnected from them and denied to them. And it tears me apart that they had to be buried in Jordan. And what tears me apart even more is that my grandfather is buried in our village in the West Bank, in Burqa. And that's what I can't stand about this. The fact that Israel robs us not only of our right to be with our family and our homeland in life, but it robs us of the chance to connect people to each other through death and in death as well, to be buried beside the person that you spent all your life with. Surely that is just an intrinsic right to every human being, to choose the place where you are buried. And my grandmother cannot be buried next to her husband. And I feel he's there alone in that graveyard. And when we went to visit my father's place in Burqa, the first time that we went in the year 2000 as a family, he couldn't find my grandfather's grave. And that haunts me until today, because it made me realize that we can't even have the right to look after the gravestones of our loved ones, of our families and ancestors. And then when we returned in 2013, my father went again and searched for it, and he found it. And for me, that sticks out for me as one of the most incredibly painful, sort of traumatic aspects of being the daughter of a dispossessed Palestinian, that we are unfortunately not allowed to bury our loved ones and give them the right to die where they choose. You hear so many times stories, even in films in Hollywood, that, you know, people in their wills say, I want to die here, you know, I want to be buried here. That is denied to Palestinians.
ما الأحلام التي كنت تحلمين بها منذ صغرك؟
أن أكون مستقلة في قراري وفي عملي وأعتمد على نفسي، ما أخذ ما أنت يعني أعتمد على نفسي أعتمد على نفسي وأخذ قراري، أستقل بقراري وأعتمد على نفسي.
Yeah, that's what brought me to Australia. I always dreamed that there must be another nicer place to live in, because I didn't think it was very nice where we lived. It's not that it wasn't nice, it was nice, but it was really hard.
لما كنت عند أهلي بعدني أول طلعتي كنت ضلني أحلم إنه أكون بالطيارة.
Is I wanna tell you, not believe it.
Tell me.
One time I saw white horse in Omar Sharif. He wears me long dress like princess. Yeah, wallah. And I was 13 years old. And I wake up, I told my auntie she know. And until he kissed me from here, she said, astaghfirullah, astaghfirullah.
I had this idea that I was going to be this beauty therapist and travel the world on cruise ships. I always thought that I would travel the world, and I wanted to do it making people beautiful.
My dream is to have a nice family, to marry, to have a nice family, and happy with my family.
As a child, I always wanted to be a journalist. I enjoy journalism, I enjoy writing, I enjoy English, I enjoy poetry. I wanted to be a school teacher as well, where I can teach English, but I've got no time for kids anymore, as they're rough as guts at this present moment, and they got hard heads. But yeah.
I had a lot of dreams, and the best thing about it is I've kind of like lived out all of those dreams. I always wanted to be an actor. I always wanted to make music. I always wanted to get into film and theater. I always wanted to write. I always wanted to be a poet. I always wanted to travel. I've done it all, and I'm doing more. And so I think dreams should be more than just dreams. They should be aspirations, and you should start setting goals and manifesting those things. And I think it's so important as a young person to have goals and dreams, and don't even just think that you have to have one goal or one dream, because you have so much hidden potential within you that is really about seeing what you can do. And I've done that since I was a teenager. The idea of doing some of the stuff that I have done was far-reaching and unrealistic. But, you know, like, who cares? That's always been my mentality. Who cares if it's unrealistic? If one person can do it, then maybe I can be that one person. How do you know? Like, unless it's being pushed.
Well, my dreams were to, like, actually be a police officer. But then, like, I realized how dangerous and, like, you don't get paid a lot with that.
I wanted to be a doctor. Okay, I wanted to be successful. Education for Palestinians was the backbone of their success and survival. So it wasn't really, are we going to do it? No, you have to do. You have to study. You have to be something to survive in life. And the only people who really survived and managed very well among the Palestinians in Palestine were the educated people who had something, you know, to go for after leaving Palestine. So it was kind of a tradition for all Palestinians. Education comes first, you know, so you have to really do it. And I was thinking to be a doctor, but you may be surprised, you know, I ended being a chartered accountant instead.
How did you turn all of those into a personal strength?
Of course. I mean, you know, in your life you have happy events, successes, and pleasant experiences, and that makes you a fantastic person. But they don't make you strong. You see, what makes you strong and determined and bring the real you is experiences, you know, which, as I said, you have to fight, you have to be strong, you have to go through hard work, you know, to survive. And this is where it is make a better person, you see. You learn from your mistake, you know. When you make a mistake, when you fail, when you do things, it is not really failure, because you get out of that experience. And experience is the best thing to build personality.
One thing, and pray to God, give me help.
By championing the cause of Palestine, by being an advocate in whatever small capacity that I can, by trying to use whatever skills and talents I've been given to try and bring about more awareness about what is happening. And it is an urgent moral dilemma. It is one of the most, incredibly unjust situations. And we are this year in, the 50 years of occupation, and it is something that I want to use all this pain and all this injustice and channel it into something productive and constructive. And for me, the most effective way to do that is through story, because I feel that because of the situation there, it is only through the will of the global community that Israel will be held to account. And so we need to connect people's hearts and minds and energy to standing alongside Palestinians.
The problems make me more strong. More problems, more strong every day.
اجينا على استراليا، اهلي حطوني بالمدرسة، عملت رفقة جديدة والحياة استمرت والحمد لله.
I learned that we can be so poisonous for ourselves because when we're self-indulgent, we hinder ourselves. And most people think that being self-indulgent is about when you big yourself up and you think you're so good and you think, oh, I'm the best, and that's when you're being self-indulgent. But thinking you're the worst is still self-indulgent. Thinking you're not capable, thinking so low of yourself, but focusing so much on yourself is still indulging the inner self. And the strength that I learned from that is to let go of the inner self, to let go of thinking so much about me, but both positive or negative, and just find a neutral grounding for who I am and what my journey is, and to kind of believe in my destiny. And so in destiny, for me, it's like I'll do everything I can do, and then everything else is up to God. That's how I look at it. And so I feel comfortable now putting in all the effort, and then whatever the outcome, I'm content with it. Whether the outcome it miserably fails or it's extremely successful is equal to me, because I've done my share, and everything else was what would come to me.
Well, I really talk to my friends, and they actually help me out. We help each other out to reach the top.
Because I realised how strong I really am to make ends meet, to make all the decisions, have to be responsible for someone other than myself.
بالاعتماد على الله، الإيمان والصبر والاعتماد على رب العالمين.
What does freedom mean to you?
That's also another reason why.
Sorry,
that's another reason why we here, the freedom that we have here, we really underestimate it. We're so lucky. Even when I go back, every time you step out of the house, you need to dress properly and talk properly. I mean, respect is good. There is a way of respect, and there is a way of respect here, but that doesn't mean we have to just, you're free to do what you want to do, basically. You don't have to, people have a wedding and they invited 1,000 people to their wedding, we have to invite 1,000 and 200. If people buy a car, we have to buy a car that's more expensive. That type of freedom, and also the freedom of, the sky is the limit. You can study and you can work and you can be a prime minister if you want, and that's freedom.
كل شيء حرية، حرية القرار بكلمة الحق، أن أحكي كلمة الحق.
Freedom, that's my thing. That's the more important thing, to have freedom.
It implies that there's no cost to something. So for me, the idea of freedom is that you can enjoy your life and everything it has to offer, but without it affecting somebody else's life. So for me, the fact that my freedom here in Australia and everything that is available to me and the opportunities, it is still tethered to the injustices that we perpetuate against Indigenous Australians, for example. It is tethered to me being in a developed country and what that means and how I rely and depend on the labour and exploitation of people in the developed world. So for me, until we understand that our freedom is something that we shouldn't take for granted or think that we earned, that is actually connected to somebody else's pain, then for me, that is going to be a start to actually tasting what a just freedom would actually be.
Freedom? Yeah. Freedom. Well, freedom for me, before 40 years ago, 45 years ago, I asked about freedom. I think the freedom beautiful. But I want to say thank you to my mom. She not give me much freedom because that time bad freedom is I follow that freedom. The freedom the people have to expect to serve. You know the lemon, what you mean lemon. Not everything is like that. My way. Oh, I need the freedom. The freedom is lemon.
I think real freedom is to be content and to be successful and to live a successful life. And success isn't the end destination. You don't become successful. You are successful. And success is how you see yourself, how you see your surroundings, how you see your opportunities, and where you're going, your journey.
الحرية كتير مهمة بالنسبة لي. الحرية لعبة دور كبير بالنسبة. قوتني، خلتني أكون حرية. والله صعبة. حرية كلمة كبيرة. حرية اللي هي الصدق والمحبة والإخلاص بين العالم.
Freedom to me is to be without worry.
There's two kinds of freedom. You have the physical freedom, okay, and I'm free. Here I live in Sydney, I can do anything I want, okay? But emotional freedom and mental freedom, it's bloody hard. Because you are a prisoner of your thought, prisoner of what happened to your relatives, to people around you, and this kind of freedom you wish it happened to you. But I think it is difficult to liberate yourself from this kind of thoughts, because you don't. It is not easy to switch off your brain. I said, don't think about it. They are there. They are emotional. They are drastic. They leave scars in your heart, but you, as I said, you learn and you have to survive them. So am I free physically, as I said, mentally and emotionally? Not 100%.